call to order. We're going in. Call the meeting to order. Would you all rise and please join us? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Agenda review. Anything to add, Maria? Good. That's always nice. Oh, all right. Accepting the minutes.
Move to accept the minutes of the Monday, September 18th meeting.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Do I hear any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Oh, yes. Ms. Bridget, sorry. One abstention. And chair votes aye. Linda. All right. Public input. Yes.
I'd like to speak to the board.
Please identify yourself.
Jim Ladd from North Wolfboro, New Hampshire,
Uh-huh.
a graduate of Brewster Academy in 1964, the last public school students to go through Brewster. We named Kingswood High School Kingswood. I feel this is my high school at Kingswood.
Thank you.
And I do robotics and I've been volunteering up there for the last 5 years. I got a handout for all of them. Did I get everyone?
Do you have another one for her? Sure. She comes.
The first page of this is from Governor Chris Sununu, Dean Kamen, and Dean Kamen, and they launched the New Hampshire Robotics Education Fund. This was September 5th of this year. I'm just going to read you the first line. Concord, New Hampshire. Today, Governor Chris Sununu will join Dean Kamen, lawmakers and students from across New Hampshire as he launches the New Hampshire Robotics Education Fund. As the needs of our workforce evolve, so should educational opportunities, said Governor Chris Sununu. I am proud today to launch the New Hampshire Robotics Education Fund, fostering a 21st century education system that works for all Granite Staters. I'll let you read the rest. Second page here is what robotics is about to do with students. This is what you need to coach it. It's a whole list. I go from electronics, electric motors, automotive wiring, computer wiring, camera placement strategies, gracious professionalism, mechanics, levers, pulleys, gearboxes, belt drives, tanks, drives, diagnostic and testing, pneumatics, plumbing, film making, report making, attendance taking, permission slips, arranging transportation and boarding, grading, networking, coding, fundraising, woodworking, driving a robot with a TV monitor. This is weird stuff. Parts inventory, designing and fabricating mechanisms and circuits, controllers and joysticks, working with Wi-Fi and cell phones, teamwork, competitive and cooperative, hands-on application for CAD designers, computer-aided design, 3D printing, mock-upping, setting up and maintaining a mobile pit area with essential and appropriate tools, using hand tools appropriately, and reading and understanding a 130-page game manual that changes every year. Football been played about the same game for the last 50 or 100 years. Every year at January 1st, we get here's the game manual, you gotta make your robot do it. It's a challenge. Next on is a picture. And this is the Lakes Region Technology Center. And this was in the winter of 16, the spring, when we were doing it there. And there's several pictures. In the bottom picture, it shows us the whole display area there. And in the top right, it shows us the Careers in Education program. And in the bottom left, it shows this early 19th or late 19th century desk with an apple on it and teacher education. Dean Heyman wants us to get into the 21st century. The next picture is what the 21st century is about. It's about robotics. It shows a robot. It shows on the top picture. On the right-hand picture is our middle school team mainframe meltdown. They're being, this was an event at Kingswood in the wintertime where we had a statewide championship for the middle school. The judges on the right-hand side are talking with the students from our team. On the bottom left-hand side, way on the right-hand side of the picture, you'll see our 3D printer. Students know how to run a 3D printer. I don't yet. Close, but not yet. And on the left, you'll see what modern education is about. It's another group of students, and you see laptop after laptop, cell phone, wiring. This is what education is today. It's not a desk with an apple for the teacher. We need in robotics at the moment, we need a classroom. And make sure I do this in my order that I have it in the technology center. It's hard to see in this black and white picture, but I've made a note of classroom 118, which is networking, and 128, which is the machine shop. Currently, in the machine shop, there are 3 tables, 1, 2, 3. Scott Meserve puts all his students' projects on those 3 tables. When we come in to do robotics at 2:30 in the afternoon, I clean one of those tables off, put all those projects aside, we bring our robot and work on it. We're going to have 3 running chassis this year, not just 1 robot. We need 3 tables. We need more space. Our space, the little square in the tiny corner, is what we call the cage. It's where we store all the robot parts and everything that goes for robotics, and we have to put it in there when we close up at night and take it out the next meeting. And it's just boxes and hauling stuff in and out and out. We need more room. Room 118 was originally Ken Franson's electronics in the tech center. He was one of the first people who started the robotics program in the high school. He and Al Poirier and Josh Keaton were together and said, we're going to start robotics here. This was 4 or 5 years ago. I happen to know Ken Franson as a neighbor of mine, and I mentioned it to him one day, and he said, oh, come join us. I've had more fun in this than any time in my life. Room 118 has electrical sockets hanging from the ceiling. You put a desk under there, you put the robot on the table. The kids with the laptops who forgot to plug them in and charge them can plug them in there. You can plug a vacuum cleaner. This room is set up for doing robotics. I see a girl raising her hand out there, but I don't think it's a question. I'm here to ask when we can get into that room. I don't know what's needed. It's only used, as I understand it at the moment, for 1 class a day, networking. The networking teacher has said he's okay with it. And part of robotics is networking. Getting the robot to communicate from the joystick through the Wi-Fi, in some cases in the middle school, it's cell phones. You have a joystick hooked to a cell phone, and on the robot you have a cell phone, and it's hooked to the electronics in the robot. Ain't this neat? Al Poirier has done an outstanding job here in the school district. He started 5 years ago and has gotten robotics in 4 of the elementary schools. In the middle school this year, we've got a classroom, and Sue Willette and I have been working with the kids there to clean it out. We've got it cleaned out, and now we're setting it up as a robotics classroom. Yahoo! We need one for the high school. We need a classroom to do this right. Al Poirier set this up, got the middle school running. Got the high school running. Our first year as our coach, he got us to Boston to the regional championships, and then we went on to Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, to the national championships. His first year coaching. His second and third year coaching, he set up in the middle school this state championship for the middle school robotics in the winter, an all-day event there using 2 gymnasiums, the cafeteria, and we were in there the night before and had to do wiring or understand the wiring to get it so we could have pit areas for 20 students, and ran the next day from 6:30 in the morning till 6:30 at night. It was an excellent event. It ran flawlessly. He did it again the second year. I don't know whether you people are aware of what he is doing for our school system. It has just been outstanding. Working with him is, to me, one of the most rewarding things that I've been able to do in a long time. He is an impressive person. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jeff.
Any questions?
No, I don't for me, but I know we could probably work on that.
And
Thank
Jim,
you.
I want to thank you because you've just been a great volunteer for the program. I know you're passionate about it, and I think
It's
the
my-
school board has committed lots of resources. There's a class now for robotics. There is a big effort put into the budget for robotics, and you've got a very supportive group of people here. So.
It's my high school, brah.
Thank you, Jeff.
We've recorded that second statewide competition. Wolfboro Community Television recorded that.
Anyone else have a Nope. Well, let's move on. Student representative report. Abby.
Well, hello everyone. We're in full swing in our second month of school, and the month started really exciting with our homecoming week. We had a dance, pep rally, hallway decorating, dress-up days. The seniors won. And also throughout the week, the World Language Social Studies Department and the Student Council worked with the classes as a competition to raise money for Puerto Rico, and in total, the school raised $1,159 for hurricane relief. In sports, on Saturday, senior Sam Barton won the Division II individual state title for golf, and that's a first individual state golf title in our school, so that's really awesome. And this Friday at the home football game, the team is accepting donations for a fundraiser they've been running, which is Coaches versus Cancer. And this past Saturday, 15 KRHS students and 10 district teachers ran in the James Foley Freedom Run in Rochester. For music, this Wednesday, the 18th, from 6 to 8, the Kingswood Music Department is hosting a fundraiser at the Art Center lobby. And that's kind of like a talent show with a spaghetti dinner where the jazz band's performing, the chorus is singing, and other individuals. And the money raised for that goes to the music department and Knights Against Hunger. And another thing is several students from Miss Bridges' photography class submitted photos to the Sandwich Fair for some pictures, and there were several awards given for that. And that's all.
Thank you, Abby. Superintendent's report.
Hey, well, it's so good to be here in Effingham, and I feel so fortunate that it's an October travel to the school because it's just so beautiful coming here. And as always, I see that the majority of the faculty is here, which is always great. And a nice welcome for the school board. Patty, thank you very much for that. I know you have something special planned for us because I see students in the audience, and so I'm really excited to get to that.
Yeah, so that's the exciting part. Let's get to that. I do want to say thank you for coming, and thanks for coming in the fall. We got snowed out last year, maybe twice, I think, if we remember. I do have a small gift for you. So today is National Bosses Day. You are all my boss. So on your seat are two entries to two current raffles we have going on. That's my gift to you, your entries into our raffle. The baskets are in the back of the room. You'll be able to see them. There's a Thanksgiving basket raffle and a Scentsy basket raffle. So enter on my gift to you, and maybe you'd consider buying more if you're interested in those baskets.
That's a marketing strategy.
Effingham, we do a lot of fundraising and marketing, and we actually just wrapped up one of our biggest events was a yard sale. These are the remnants of our yard sale that we had on Saturday, and these are held aside for Starting Point, an area agency that'll be coming and picking up these items. But we did have quite a successful yard sale on Saturday as well. So to the kid part, Effingham Elementary has partnered with Green Mountain Conservation Group for several years, monitoring the water quality of the South River, which, as you know, goes through Effingham. The 4th and 5th grades have worked with Green Mountain this year, and they have a small presentation on the health of the South River and perhaps a test of your macroinvertebrate knowledge.
So I just wanted to, I'm going to repeat a little bit about what Patty said, but Effingham School has enjoyed our collaboration with the Green Mountain Conservation Group. Over the years, our school has participated in the Trout in the Classroom program, where students raised and released their own trout, Project Get Wet, where students tested their own well water. But this is the 8th consecutive year that Effingham has done the Volunteer Biological Assessment Program. We're thankful to Karen Deegan for her help in organizing the trip. She prepares the students with us and helps share the stream results. The partnership with Green Mountain enables children to have authentic and meaningful experiences with science and nature. Communities in the Ossipee watershed have used the data that students collect to make environmental changes that improve our water quality. Last year, our students had hoped to present their results, but the weather prevented them from coming. So this year I have some 4th and 5th graders who I'll introduce to you, and then they'll take it from here. So I have Lily, Bryson, Faith, Samantha, Blake, Harry, and Angie. So I'll probably give them a microphone. We know they can be loud, but maybe not right now. Just tap it and see if it's working. Say hello.
On September 19th, Effingham traveled to the South River in Parsonsfield, Maine, to work with the Green Mountain Conservation Group. We went on a field trip to collect macroinvertebrates. What is a macroinvertebrate? Macroinvertebrates are bugs that don't have a backbone and they are big enough to see without a microscope. Some macroinvertebrates can't live in polluted water, but others can still survive. The macroinvertebrates are divided into groups based on how sensitive they are to pollution. So what we find can help us tell how clean the water is. That is why the macroinvertebrates are called bioindicators. We are going to give you a sheet that shows how sensitive the macros are.
So we have some handouts that we can pass a few around. Okay, you take some, yeah. Oh, Lily, I've got some here. Okay, take some. Here, you want to help? It'll help, because they spread out on me, which was very polite. Here. Good job.
supposed to follow strict procedures for collecting, but this year the water was too high for us to go into all the sites. Our data is therefore unofficial. After we collected our macros, we had to spend a lot of time sorting and identifying them. Here's one species that we found. Can you identify it from the sheet?
All right, so maybe my kids have already spoken. Why don't you sit down so they can see the screen and see if you can identify this macroinvertebrate. And if you think you know, you may raise your hand or call it out. I will let go of my. All right,
Stonefly.
stonefly.
You're right, it is a stonefly. Here is another one that we found. Can you identify it?
Guesses? You can yell them out.
The dam will fly.
Okay, which one is it?
Eel.
Yeah. Say what, tell it what it is.
It is a mayfly.
Yeah.
This one is tricky. This is the tricky one. Can you identify it?
Tell them the hint, and then we'll tell them the name.
It makes a casing out of debris from tree.
So it's in the casing there, but on your paper, it's not in its casing. It's very tricky. Which we found both, so that was very hard.
It is a caddisfly.
It is a caddisfly. Nice job.
Here is another one that I found. Can you identify it?
Yeah, good one. Yeah, tell us.
You're right, it's a water crab. We were very excited because we thought we found many hellgrammites because they cannot survive with any pollution. But it turned out that we had all their flies.
So just because I can't help myself, we found a bunch of these, and when she came to share this with us, we thought we had found quite a bit of these hellgrammites, and they have a tolerance value of 0. They cannot tolerate any. So she showed us the alderfly on the left and the hellgrammite picture on the right. And the students did such an amazing job looking at the photos and finding the physical traits to defend why they thought, no, they're hellgrammites, and many of them still will tell you why they think it's a hellgrammite, but it was really awesome to hear them show their reasoning and looking at the traits that we had learned and some of the behaviors they were asking. So it was really a really cool discussion with them debating with the expert.
Here are the final results. What do you think the stream rating are?
I don't know if you can see. Can you see the numbers in the back? So some of you have that sheet and some of you don't, but the top group are the most sensitive. The middle group can tolerate some pollution, and the bottom group cannot. They can tolerate. They could live anywhere. They could live anywhere. Those ones in the bottom, but as you can see, there's 32 stoneflies, 60 mayflies, 41 caddisfly larvae. They say 0 hellgrammites, 11 water honeys, and no ripple beetles. So, anybody want to make a informal assessment of the stream? You think the stream is pretty healthy?
Our score this year was 3 700, which puts it into the excellent range.
Excellent. So that's what we got. So last year it was 2 1100ths, which was official data, but still in the excellent range. So thank you, 4th and 5th graders. So we do have a few things set up on the table. tables. If you want to try some more identifying of a macroinvertebrate, we have some that you could pick up and try to match. There's some photos from our trip. This year we didn't get into the calculations because we didn't do the official protocols, but the 5th grade last year learned how to calculate the official biotic score, so we have that form we could show you, as well as some of the students' science notebooks where we've done some of our work and kept some of our work. So if you have a chance to visit somebody at the table, please do. Go ahead.
Well, that was really great. The students are always the best part, and I'll tell you, I want the students to know that I really learned something tonight. I didn't know about the various tolerance levels of macroinvertebrates, so you taught your superintendent something tonight. Tonight we have a special presentation on the Renew program. The Renew program is a program that's near and dear to my heart, and I want to thank Susan Merrill for establishing the grant that got Renew off the ground, and to Guy Donnelly and Bill Douglas for everything that they have done to make sure that the program has flourished at the high school. And of course, the program wouldn't be implemented without the wonderful teachers we have working with kids and implementing the program. So I'm really happy that we have the opportunity to talk about it tonight. There are many facets to Renew, and I'm probably not the best person to be explaining it. So I will tell you what Renew means. It's all capital letters, and then I'm going to let folks out here take it away because those are the people that are on the ground working with it. And Renew is, if I can find it, I know I have it here, rehabilitation and empowerment for natural supports, education, and work. So now you know why it's called Renew, and we don't say it out every single time. But it's essentially a program that wraps around students and helps students succeed in high school and transitions them beyond high school to a productive post-high school experience. But that's just the nutshell. So I think, Susan, you're going to talk about it a little bit first. Sure, yeah.
Thank you. In the end, yeah, absolutely, it's about empowering the youth. So the idea is to meet with the youth. We go through a strengths needs checklist to look to see who qualifies or has the indicators to be a possible match for the program. The 3 target areas are around attendance, discipline, and then lack of credits or success within the academics at the high school. So by going through the list of students that are having problems across those 3, or maybe not all 3, but maybe 2 are highlighted, we'll create a list and go through and then try to highlight who we think would be a good match based on the facilitators that we have available and students that may be student readiness. From there, the process is to meet with them, to tell them about the program, to see if they are interested, because really they have to be the ones that want to be empowered to change their current setting to possibly be more successful. And from there, we then reach out to the parents. And like you said, we have now 23 trained facilitators at the high school. And we started 4 years ago with 8. Which was a part of the Next Steps grant, and each year we've added about 8 additional. Some have been able to come to a training offered by the district. Other facilitators have taken their own professional development money to go and become trained to be able to be a facilitator to work with youth. We've had varying degrees of success. Some students that we would have highlighted that possibly may not make it to high school graduation have absolutely graduated. We've had others that have moved on either to other districts but stayed connected with their Renew facilitator who have then also graduated. And other that we helped try to facilitate through to make it through their high set so they at least get the high school equivalent. And even now we have one that's made it post-secondary school, and the Renew facilitator is still helping, staying connected there, and you'll hear a little bit more about that. But it is, as you mentioned, it's a unique experience because we typically work with youth through the lens of education. And this is a bit different because it's a program that's tried and true through UNH. And it's really about graphic facilitation, looking at the students' goals and aspirations, and really unconditional care of what they want to do by goal setting and coming up with what they want out of life. And then us trying to connect them within the community, within the school, or their other communities to have supports to to overcome obstacles. So that could be money for driver's ed, it could be how to get a ride to a job, it could be finding a job. There's lots of different aspects, so it's not only just school-based, it's community-based, and then overall trying to empower the youth to connect with people to be able to overcome obstacles in their life. Questions based on that? And if not, I will turn it over to Mrs. French, who's going to talk a little bit about bring one piece to life for you. Great. Mrs. French?
I'm Jen French. I'm the health teacher at the high school and one of the original Renew facilitators. I'm going to introduce you to try to put a face on Renew tonight. I don't have great graphic facilities here, but my most recent Renew student is Erin Jakes. I knew this was going to happen, right? It's not going to stay up. Well, I'll show you Erin anyways. Erin came to Renew by a slightly different path. Rather than being identified by the school as an at-risk student, Erin had heard about Renew through a friend who was in the program and said, I want that. Erin was an average student. She did not have disciplinary or other problems, but what she did have were a lack of supports in her family life and a lot of goals that she really wanted to achieve. So she actually came to the administration and said, I want to do Renew. Will you take me? And she was offered up, and having had her in class, I knew that she was a young lady with a lot of self-efficacy and a lot of spunk. So I said, I'll take Erin. And I started working with her. And in Renew, we use a process called graphic facilitation. And before I continue, I should say that Erin has given me absolute permission to share her story, her maps, and some other things tonight. And I promise to be fairly quick. But graphic facilitation is a series of maps that we create with the students, and I am no artist, I promise you, but they serve as a pathway to sort of identify student goals. They serve as a reference to go back and look where we've come from and where we're going, dreams, hopes, strengths, challenges, and all kinds of different things. So this was Erin's dreams map, one of the first ones we did, with our little star people that Renew tells us we're supposed to use. And Erin came to me and she said, Mrs. French, I want to study mortuary science. Does anybody even know what that is? Because I was kind of taken aback at that point. But Erin wanted to be a funeral director. She was fascinated by social services. She was fascinated by science. She wanted something more non-traditional than nursing. And she'd stuck herself on this, I want to go to college and I want to do this. She had some challenges, both in that no one in her family had ever attended college before. She lived with a single dad. Her mom lives in Florida and was battling stage 4 breast cancer at the time Erin was finishing high school with 3 younger siblings. So there was really nobody who knew how to guide her through the process. And that's what we used Renew for in Erin's case. So in her dreams map, she wanted to live in New Hampshire. She wanted to have an old barn house she fixed up herself. She wanted to be independent. She said, I might have a partner, but it's not necessary. I'm going to have kids, even if I have to adopt them. She wanted to do her embalming and mortuary science, be physically active. If she did have a wedding, it would be non-traditional, so on and so forth. And that was our starting point. Okay, this is the dream. Where do you want to go, Erin? But then we got a little more specific with a series of goals maps, where we would actually list what did we need to do, starting at the very beginning, and how are we going to get there. And Erin had so many goals. Her first job, she hadn't been employed when we started work together. So she found a job at Gunstock over, I think it was February vacation. And then she saved enough money to buy a truck and decided to get a better job, waitressing at Sugar Hill. She needed to get an internship to make sure that this is what she wanted to do. So she worked with Rick Gagne at Baker Gagne Funeral Homes over the summer. She had to rearrange her senior schedule. She had to take the SATs. She had to figure out financial aid, college search, applying for college, how we were going to pay for college. And this was all big stuff, overwhelming for her. And even for her dad, who was fully behind her. The FAFSA scares me. The FAFSA really scared Tony. But we brought the people in that he needed to help do that. And we worked through the process. Erin graduated early, last December, of her own desire, because she wanted to work the spring semester and save money. She was accepted to Mount Ida College in mortuary science, early acceptance last fall, which was more exciting for me than when my own kids got accepted to college. Frankly, both of us cried, and we did the FAFSA. She got quite a bit of aid, and she's there. She's at Mount Ida. And I'm still supporting her because she's scared sometimes, and she's uncertain sometimes, and she's concerned about the money sometimes. So I get these texts and these messages, Mrs. French, I'm going to fail this test, but we still work together. I texted her today and I said, Erin, I'm going to talk about you in front of the school board. What would you say about Renew? And she said, Mrs. French, tell them that Renew taught me that I can achieve any goal I set my mind to. So I said, that's great. Right? And I put my phone down, I went back to work, and my phone dinged about 3 minutes later. And she said, and Mrs. French, tell them I'm not done. So that's Erin's story, and she's kind of our poster girl for Renew. And I don't think she is done. I think Erin's going to achieve everything she set out to, and probably quite a bit more. And all she needed was that bit of unconditional support, an adult to guide her to achieving those goals, somebody she knew and still knows that she can contact and count on and is going to be her cheerleader. And it worked out really well for her and for me. So that's what I have. Do you have any questions? Because I'd be happy to talk more about the process or anything to do with Renew. Good?
I can't imagine putting a better face on.
Isn't she wonderful?
I mean, talk
I
about
actually took her
making
senior
it-
pics and then was fortunate to be senior class advisor, and I presented her with her flower, and that was just such a great moment. She would have graduated from high school without Renew. Erin would have done that. But what would have happened next would have been really uncertain without the kind of guidance she got through this program. So I'm watching. I'll keep you posted. She's a pretty cool young lady, and I feel fortunate that I got to work with her.
So it's success stories like that one that make us feel really invested in Renew. And we've been presented with an incredible opportunity and what I would consider an honor. As Bill referenced, 4 years ago, we were in the first cohort of Next Steps New Hampshire. Renew was an optional component, but we knew that we wanted that. Our involvement in that cohort lasted about 18 months. And at the end, the facilitators who we had, there were 8 facilitators at that point, felt that they wanted more support around Renew. And we were lucky to find grant money to bring Kathy Francor, who works for UNH and the Institute on Disability and is the face of Renew, really. We were able to bring her back about once a month. And that allowed us to implement the program with fidelity, to allow the facilitators to have their questions answered and really make changes for children like you just heard about that for incredible success. And I think because of our ability to be data-driven in our decision-making and monitoring our progress with those students and implement with fidelity, we were asked to be part of a national research study. And there's a lot of advantages to the district as a result of this. So there are 4 states, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maryland, and Illinois, who would be involved in this project. In New Hampshire, there are 3 districts that were asked, and there's a number of schools that have implemented Renew, and I think we were asked because of how great our facilitators are and how hard they've worked to get it right. So Somersworth, Conval, and Kingswood have been invited to be part of this research study. Given the size of Kingswood, the study itself is going to involve about 8 students in that. And to the advantages to us, which we're very excited about, would be that we get, at no charge, weekly consultation from Kathy Francor, who has been guiding us through this process. We get Renew facilitators trained at no cost, which allows us to continue to expand that, and we get a $3,000 stipend that we can use for any Renew-related activity as we see fit. And we have access to a research assistant. So all of those things, I think, will help take this, the work of the Renew facilitators and the advantage to the children and families that are served through Renew to the next level. And the research study is a collaboration between the University of Vermont and the University of New Hampshire to do this. So we are pretty excited about it, actually.
I assume we need a vote?
We do need a vote for a research study?
Okay, I'll move that we approve the research study as presented.
Second. I hear a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair says aye, Linda. Excellent.
Can I just ask a non-related to the study question?
Sure.
You 23 staff, that was amazing to me that, you know, with all the things staff people have to do. And Jen, you're like a natural fit. I mean, that's just, it seems like the kind of stuff you do, but is it a cross-section of
It is a cross-section. Thank you for asking that. We have custodians, secretaries, teachers, administration, trained as facilitators, and the training itself is actually consecutively is more time, but the meeting is not even weekly necessarily. I'll let you guys
so the
answer
meetings,
that.
you go through a series of graphic facilitation. You try to get through that in the first 8 to 10 weeks. So you're once a week for, you know, a month, 2.5 months. And then after that, once you get through that process, it's more about planning, goal setting, and then just touching base. So it's heavy on the front end, and then as you get through it with success, you're only touching base as needed. And then, like we said, we've been working through with the 23 staff. So in that 23, 6 were just trained. So they'll be starting with the youth once we start. Now that we have the approval, we'll start through with this next process. So, and currently, I think there's 11 that are currently engaged in the process, and some that have not picked up youth because of other engagement priorities that they have. Because as you know, people that are passionate about students, they're doing it everywhere. So I try not to always lean on those that are doing a lot, but it's nice to have the 23. And task has also been an amazing benefit for both the students and the facilitators to be able to carve out some time here or there as needed. So the students aren't missing a class for this. They're able to feel like they can take the time to meet with their, their facilitator and not miss a class as well. So it's really been it's been awesome. And for somebody that's also worked with a youth, it is a fun and engaging process that shifts your mindset to really stop and listen to what they're asking for, as opposed to listening and trying to give my educational spin on things. Because you're really just becoming an adult working with a child to overcome some obstacles. So it's empowering. I think it's a win-win for both the adults and the student.
I think too, it is a big commitment for the facilitators. They are, and they should all be applauded, the Kingswood staff who have agreed to do that. But one of the aspects that I really like about Renew is that the facilitator doesn't do it for the student. They are facilitating, guiding, who's your team. That's what some of the mapping is, your inner circle. You guys can speak more to it. The outer, and where can you go? Who do you need to bring in now to help you accomplish this? What are your resources? And within that, I think students then become advocates for themselves and are able to be more in charge of their own destiny. So it's been great.
I think this is a real example of what a caring community we have in each of our schools, for the administrators to be so supportive of this, and for teachers to take their own time to become involved and to personally shepherd students through the process. So I think it says a lot about our faculty and staff, And I think it's terrific for kids, and I'm just grateful to everyone who participates in it and supports it. And I know that we'll be expanding it to the middle school as well this coming year, so that's pretty exciting. So thank you to everyone who's been involved in getting it off the ground and keeping it going. I really appreciate it, and I know that there are going to be a lot of successes and a lot of positive things that might not have happened otherwise. So, and before we move on to the next subject, because I do think there is a tie-in here, Renew is one of those things that we do to help students be engaged in things that are positive. And I had told you at our last board meeting that we would be putting together a resource guide for drug and alcohol prevention, because as I know with our community being concerned about the opioid crisis, that the question is going to arise again and again, I'm sure. What is the school doing in terms of drug abuse prevention? And so we do have a pamphlet, and I want to thank Susan and the guidance department for putting this together. It's a nice outline. It doesn't include everything that we do, but it includes a lot of what we do, and it also focuses on the adverse childhood experiences that I've talked about in the past and how those influence students and the choices that they make, and the need for a variety of interventions, not necessarily just a curriculum or a program, and probably programs like Renew that are so very personalized. That's probably the best thing that we can do for our kids, is to really give them personal attention and have personal connections. And a lot of the things that you'll see listed in here help us do that. So, thank you again, Guidance Department and Susan. Anyone have any questions at all?
Melissa, I just wanted to know, how many, you have 23 facilitators, how many students?
We've had 22 involved in the process.
In how long a time since you started?
Since started, since 14, so roughly 8 or so per year, and some have been through, we targeted sophomores and juniors in that first year. And since we've actually gone and started with freshmen and sophomores, so we've gone back to the younger students.
So it's a rolling?
It can be rolling, yeah. And so the hope is that they, once you get through, you're only touching base so that they're being successful, but it depends. The youth that I've been working with, we're in our, going into our third year, and I started late in her sophomore year, but we're still very active. But it's working, so. I'm hoping to be able to start with another youth, and that's the goal. Is you hope you can do 2 a year, but it depends on commitment and time. So.
Oh, okay.
On to the next subject. Not as much fun as Project Renew, but school enrollment. At this time of the year, we have had our October 1st count, so we have a pretty good indicator of what our enrollment looks like. And currently, we have 2,334 students, or at least as of October 1st we did. That's about 17 students fewer than we had last year at this time. But what we find is over the course of the year, we tend to pick up students, so I would anticipate that we're probably going to acquire about 15 more students. The vocational program has 2 additional students from last year, so the enrollment is not declining as much as some of the areas around us. We're sort of on an up and down cycle, but it's not dramatic.
Do you know how many students are from Middleton at this point? Do you know?
Yeah, I can give you an approximate
Just
number. Approximately 100 and probably 15.
15. Thank you.
All right, field trip requests. The first one should be Wentworth Regional High School Astronomy Club to the Boston Museum of Science. Everyone has it?
Yeah. I'll move we approve the field trip request for the Astronomy Club to the Boston Museum of Science.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair says aye, Linda.
Crescent Lake School, thinking ahead, they have their field trip for the ecology school in Saco, Maine, and the departure date is May 23rd in 2018.
That's 2 nights?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'll move the field trip for the 5th grade class to the ecology school in Saco as presented.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair says aye, Linda.
And I love the fact that Crescent Lake School are planners. We have the 6th grade classroom teachers who will be going to the Boston Museum of Science in June of 2018, June 14th. And their return date is June 15th, and that's their traditional 6th grade overnight.
Great trip. I'll move the 6th grade trip to the Boston Museum of Science as well. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair says aye, Linda. As long as the toilets work. That was my trip. My trip, the toilets got a little odoriferous.
Okay, moving on.
That was-
Budget
oh, yeah.
timeline. Mary and I are meeting with each principal this week, actually, to discuss budget. And if you refer to your sheet, you'll see that our first Finance Committee meetings to discuss budget are scheduled for November 13th, 14th, and 15th. December 4th is the preliminary adoption. January 8th, the final adoption. January 9th, the last day for collective bargaining. January 9th, the last date for petition warrant articles. January 29th, last date to post the warrant budget and default budget. And January 4th to February 2nd, 2018, filing for school district officers. And those school district officers that are up for re-election are Tim Eldridge from Effingham, Julianne Cardinal from New Durham, and Jack Woodman from Jeffersonburg. Legislative update. Right now, we are, the biggest thing that has affected us most recently is parent permission. Parent permission now needs to be obtained for all non-academic surveys, and that was Senate Bill 43, and that's effective 9/16/17. So for any academic survey that we have now in our school district, we will be having parents opt in versus opting out. RSA 189.13, that criminal records check procedure has changed, and so you can expect a policy to be forthcoming. We really haven't seen a sample policy from the School Boards Association yet, so I will be probably collaborating with our attorney's office because that's a pretty important policy to make sure that you're within all the legal parameters for something like that. So we'll be collaborating on that, and I expect a policy to come through academic affairs soon. And School Boards Association.
Not too much to report other than tomorrow night, actually, no, Wednesday night, they're having a presentation on budget process, which I can't be at, obviously, because we have other students here. And it looks like I'm going to be the School Board Association rep to NHIAA next year. The gentleman who's on there has been the school board rep for probably 12 years, and he's been on the School Board Association for 12 years, which is a limit. So he's going off in January, so I'm going to be taking that over starting in November, and then continue for a while.
Should be interesting.
So,
3 years left.
yeah, for whatever period of time.
Set
So
then?
that's all I have. Yeah.
Thanks, Jack. I have 3 cards of sympathy. One to Michelle McCourty, as the youth secretary on the passing of her mother-in-law. Paulette Armstrong, student support center assistant at OCS, on the passing of her husband. And to Lena Madden, classroom teacher in New Durham, on the passing of her mother-in-law. Committee reports. Stacy.
We have second readings looking for approvals on a couple policies. One second. We've got EHR data record retentions, IHBG home education instruction, and then IHBGR participation in public school activities by home educated and non-public school pupils. We discussed these at length, well, some length at our last meeting. So aside from a few grammatical changes that have occurred since our last meeting, we'd be looking for a motion to approve these tonight.
Just those two?
Three, yes.
Okay, I'll move that we approve EHR, IHBG, IHBGR.
Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Just as I, Linda.
So we have, for first reading tonight, EGA, it used to be called School District Internet Access, but it was last revised in 2009, and we know that technology and social media has changed just a little bit since 2009. So first of all, we're changing it to, the titling of it to Employee Electronic Communications to more accurately reflect the kinds of communications it covers. And really, it encompasses a few other old, or allows us to get rid of a few other old ones and come up with one really comprehensive revised policy. This came out of the Technology Task Force. It's pretty comprehensive, and it was meant to be pretty comprehensive without taking away people's rights, but spelling some things out. So we have a first reading on it tonight. And following this, in about a month's time, you'll see one that mirrors this for student electronic communications. So it's not just about the staff, it's about all of us. So I'm not going to read it, but certainly if you all have questions, or Kathy, I know you were involved in the Tech Force conversations on this, so if there's anything you have to add to it tonight, feel free.
I really think you've explained it perfectly.
I think it's pretty much how we would expect that social media communications would be, but it spells it out, so there's really no guessing. So any questions, or specifically any grammatical changes, get those to Linda. But we'll have a second reading next time on that one. We have, in your package, you should have received several course proposals, all related to, kind of under the heading of theater stagecraft. We met with Scott Giesler and Guy earlier tonight. Fortunately, we have great facilities and great programming and a great theater department, so our students have been exposed to some of these items in more of an extracurricular way, but the state really, in restructuring, the state created a new discipline through technology programs called Theater Stagecraft, which Scott kind of ran with and said, how can we incorporate this into our day, make it a more formalized offering. So you'll see a variety of courses which range from a quarter to a semester to ultimately a year long, ranging from script writing for stage and screen, television broadcasting, theatrical set building, costuming, theater technology and design. So what we, Tim and Kathy and I, we all were pretty impressed and pleased with the presentation. And what they'd like to do is get our full board approval on this so they can get some of these write-ups ready for the course offerings, because before we know it, kids are going to be registering for next year's high school classes. So if you, the good thing is Scott is able to teach these within his existing time available. So there's not an extra expense to the district. We're making use of facilities that we already have. So this is really, it's a win-win, and it's a way to get more students, and students can take these right at 9th grade, and there's some that have prerequisites, so they might have to take one before another. But maybe get students involved in these programs. They can kind of test it out. Guy pointed out there's a need for more, there's a lack of availability of some elective courses, so that also helps fill that need too. Anything anyone wants to add that I might not have hit? No?
Well, you answered my one question.
I knew, you were right in my line there. I knew that.
Sure you
What's
were.
the cost?
With the budget.
Yeah,
What's the budget
exactly.
ramification?
No,
Okay.
because I had that,
Jack.
because you trained me well, Jack, from finance, I had that question too. And Scott currently has a prep period, and that he will be doing this instead. And I said, well, is that going to leave you enough time? And these are a lot of things he was doing anyways. It will give him a more formalized time and a group of students to do it during the day. So it's not really going to add to. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
So
I need a motion
Yeah, I
to
was
move
gonna say,
forward
we
with
need a
this.
I'll make the motion then that we approve the course outlines presented tonight for, what do you want to call it, the theater?
Under theater stagecraft.
Under theater stagecraft, as presented.
Perfect. I'll second. I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Just says aye, Linda. Thank you, Stacy. Tim, I think you're the only one here.
There was
Any other
no committee report, or no committee meeting, so hence no committee report at this time.
Jack, finance.
Well, we had a brief finance meeting before this meeting and a presentation on the funding formula and maybe some potential modifications, something to look at. It's going to take a lot more time to get into that and to really look at it and all the details involved with it. But a lot of time spent by an individual who really thinks there's some opportunities to smooth things out a little bit from a tax standpoint for all the towns. So we'll look through that as time goes on, and the rest of it is the budget process and the time frame that was presented earlier.
Public relations. Juliana's not here, I am, and we haven't had a meeting, so we're all set on that one.
Okay.
And Jack, human relations.
School and Human Resources continues with the process that's ongoing.
All right. Advanced planning. So I'll look at the bottom of the list, and we know that it's going to start to get busy because finance committee's going to start meeting. We're due for OSFI is our next meeting, correct?
OSFI Central. Yeah.
Yes.
OSFI Central, and
No.
no, wait a minute. No, Durham's next. There it is.
Oh, okay.
11/6. And that goes as it is anyway. All right. Public input again. Thank you, Patty, for having us. Yes, Peter.
I was at a lecture at the library last week where a lady gave a lecture called Fish Can't Climb Trees. And it has to do with the 12 fundamental learning methods that people use. And I see this as an excellent opportunity for an in-service thing for the schools. I got her to give me one of her books, and I'll see that the proper people see it.
Thank you, Peter. Jim.
I forgot to mention the transmogrifiers, which is the robotics team here at Effingham School. I apologize.
Your host school, no less.
You got it.
All right. That done. Let's move on. Closing comments. I'll start over again, Abby. I'll spare you. It's only the second time. I'm not going to put you through it. Bridget.
I was going to say, like you did, the transmogrifiers started here. My son was part of it, and he loved it. And I loved your passion. That was good. I love listening to you. Thank you for having us. And I loved the kids. I love seeing the excitement that the kids have, and they just want to talk and tell you more and more and more and more. So it's great that program, the Green Mountain. And the Renew, I didn't know that existed, and I think it's amazing. I think that's a great thing. And welcome, Abby. I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I didn't get to introduce myself, so glad to have you.
Me? Oh, gee,
Yeah, I'll go back again.
Wow, all of a sudden. Wow. Patty, thank you. Thank you for the coffee, by the way. I love the students' presentations. It's always fun to be here and watch their presentations and try to learn something from them, because that's what we're here for, and it's terrific. So, thank you. And the Renew program, I think, is terrific. The presentation tonight was really moving. It was really very moving. So thank you for that.
Timothy.
Again, Patty, thank you for having us here. And certainly thanks, Sarah. She did well with the students. And your staff. It was great seeing all the staff. Also, just a shout out again to all of our athletes, but a special one to Sam Barton for his placement with the golf stuff. And the Renew program, the stuff that Scott put together for the theater, the robotics, that program that you brought to us, are all things that the teachers keep telling us about, and you can certainly see their passion every time that they talk about these things. So again, I just give a shout out to all the staff throughout the whole district, because certainly what they're doing makes our job a lot easier.
The kids they're just so amazing how they just open up and they just talk, and I think, gosh, if I was that, I don't think so. They're just amazing. Every time we see the students, they amaze me a little bit more than the last time. Jim and I had a nice talk last night, and I had told him, we don't really speak on behalf of the board, but I thought this was one area where I thought I was safe, that we've always been so excited to kind of follow the progress of robotics. And the one thing I know is that it takes so much time. It is a labor-intensive, and especially when you're working against, a project deadline. You've only got so many days to pull things off, and really, it can't be done without volunteers like you and support from the community that pull it all together. So thank you for that. I know that you probably would say you get as much out of it as you put into it, but it's essential. So thank you for that.
Thank you to Patty and all the Effingham staff. I love to see everybody here. The kids were so excited, but they were so comfortable just talking to people. Obviously, they do a lot of that, sharing what they've learned. The Renew presentation was very, gave me the chills. Moving, and I want all the facilitators to give up their own time to help kids, and then that passes on to the kids, because your report of all the things that the kids do to fundraise and to do for the community, that just passes down from the staff to the kids, and I want to thank everybody that makes that happen.
Sure, Debbie.
Well, thank you again. Effingham kids are really awesome. I mean, seeing some of the stuff they're doing, that's like some of the stuff related to what we're learning in AP Bio right now, so I was really impressed. And I think it's really cool to just get to go to the meetings and see all the kind of undercover stuff going on, and seeing like Kingswood really does have opportunities for every single student and support for everyone and classes.
Thank you, Abby. Linda.
I want to thank Patty for all her help in setting up for tonight. Thank you.
I'll go last. Mary.
Thank you, Patty. It's great to be in Effingham, and it's great to see everybody, because I don't get out of the office that much, so it's really nice to see you all.
Thank you, Patty, and to all of the staff who always make us feel so welcome here, no matter when we come. I don't know what else I can say that hasn't already been said, except to say that I wish there was a way that we could put in a bubble all of the incredible things that go on here on any given day, the compassion, the kindness, the care, the support. There is no way to share all of that, but I continue to just be so proud of all of the ways that every person here, no matter what their role, reaches out to kids every single day.
Now it's yours.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm going to have to reiterate a few things because I think there are a few things that were said that I feel the same way about that are really important. And Kathy, one of the things that you said about the teachers giving their time to the various things they give their time to, whether it's robotics or Renew or making sure that new courses are put together that excite and engage kids. It's just, it makes me proud to be a part of the district as well, and I'm really grateful to all the staff that give their time and really care so much about the kids, and the volunteers too, Jim. In addition to that, I think there's a relationship between the staff members and their care for the students and what we're seeing from the students. The list, Abby, that you gave of all of the relief efforts, the hurricane relief, the Foley Run, the spaghetti dinner for Nights Against Hunger, the fundraising that Patty and Effingham has done. It's just, it's like a pay-it-forward situation, I think. When you're around people that are good people and helpful and kind and caring, I think it's easier to learn to be that way and to do that yourself. So I'm very grateful for that. And again, the Renew project, that is a project that is near and dear to my heart because I think it really makes a huge difference for kids. And I think it's going to continue to grow and make more and more of a difference over time. So that's all.
Patty, thank you for having us. I always get a big kick out of approving field trip requests for this because they're going out of state. Of course, the bus they take to get out of state happens to be the same bus that they drive to pick the kids up. They're on the other side of the thing. They can't get back here. 153 doesn't wiggle out. But
Policy says out of state.
hey, it's out of state. You're right. But it's about like, you fell over the wrong side of the line. You're right. But the kids, every time I've been here, for every science presentation I've seen here, I have been very impressed. The kids and the teachers are so engaged. It's amazing. It just really floors me. I'm glad I can get here. When it comes to that student that we heard about, I wondered why when I was shaking people's hands at graduation, passing out diplomas, this one girl kind of floated across the stage. Now I know why. She was the one I remember distinctly, and I said, just something different about her. But she floated across that stage, and I could tell now I know why. As far as the golf is concerned, I got to say one thing for that golf team. Well, no, it's important. Sam won on Thursday. The team as a whole didn't do very well, but on Friday, OCS has, everybody knows OCS has Schools Out program. And I'm not bragging, but there's some kid I know who's in charge of it over there for some reason. How he got roped into that, I have no idea. But Mike has 17 kids that he has going in this golf program right now. And the golf team came up Friday, and they all went to Indian Mountain together, and they all played. And the only thing Mike had to say about that was he just was glad he was in the group that didn't have Sam in it because they all had to demonstrate their abilities. And Mike says, I'm not anywhere near where Sam is. Anyway, I'd like to pass my congratulations to Sam because he's a great kid and he's going to do real well in the future. I'm sure of it. And that does it for me. Do I have a motion for non-public? I believe I do.
Motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A, semicolon 3, paragraph 2, for legal, personal, and student matters.
Second. Thank you, Tim. I have to poll every member. Yeah. Kathy?
Yes.
Stacy? Tim? Yes. Jack?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Me? Yes. We're non-public. Thank you very much.